Welcome to Selle Val Gardena here in the Dolomites once again for what is the toughest mountain bike race in the world, bar none. This is Hero Sud Dolomites, taking in 5 separate valleys in a big loop. 86 kilometers for the elite men, 4,500 meters of climbing, 60 kilometers and 3,200 kilometers of climbing for the women. This is an absolute European paradise for those people who want to get out and about, and beautiful. When you finish your hard day's excursions, the villages are absolutely glorious. Just look at this panoramic tour of the 5 valleys that this race goes through. Selle Val Gardena is the most beautiful village. The start and finish is right in the middle of Val Gardena, and it has this sort of natural amphitheater, as you can see, and it makes it so intense for not just the racing but for all the spectators as well. You really pack in around the village square, which is actually a big circle in the middle. And it makes for absolutely wonderful viewing. And if you are following us on the live feed today, it is an extraordinary achievement that they've been able to bring mountain bike racing to the world in such intensity. Now that we have this incredible technological advantage of 5G broadcasting from telephones based around the site, and also from drone technology. This is the holy grail. This is what we always wanted from mountain bike racing. Years and years ago, when mountain bike racing first started, everybody wanted to put it on the television, but it was just so very difficult to do. Watching the warm-up of the women this morning.
The race is very, very hard. There are a lot of climbs. I think that this race is very important to reserve the energy for the last climb and for the finish. The last climb is the climb, the decision climb, is the K, and it's important to go to energy this last climb. I think that for food all race, and don't I don't say in English, malgastar energía, lose energy in another climbs, and I think that is the key for go to the last climb with energy.
It's going to be a hard day for sure. I'm not that used to the altitude, but I've been here for almost 4 weeks, or I've been in altitude for 4 weeks, and I really hope I have adapted a lot. But this race, you really need to pace yourself so you don't like blow up in the middle or in the end. And I hope for the best. The start field is really, really strong. I think it's the strongest in the World Cup for this year, actually. I have been number 5 as the best result so far, and I hope I will be the same or even better. But as I said, it's a really strong start field and a really strong girls. So yeah, but you always go for the podium, of course, you do. For me, I have to pace and not be stressed by the other girls, especially in the beginning, in the starting climb. You really need to pace yourself, but that is hard because you don't want to lose that much time. You can't lose that much time in the starting hill, so it will be a gamble. But I know I can do a really good race if I can pace myself, and yeah.
Yeah, she's not wrong. It's a massively talented field. This is Rosa van Doorn. Great rider. Rode brilliantly last year to win this Cera Gualandi of the Lee Coogan team. They've got a big team here this year, both men and women, specializing in marathon events. There is Amanda Bolin. She said 5th is the best she's had so far in the last round. Lining up this morning very early. What happens is that they start, think of it as like the London Marathon or any of the big marathons. They set the elites off first and they go and race, and then all the general public who are here to come and challenge themselves are set off behind. Claudia Peretti looking a little bit nervous, the Italian, but she'll really want to do well here. This is a home race. This is the one everybody wants to win. Paula Goreca-Kerman lying 3rd overall in the Marathon World Cup at the moment on 450 points. The women's are a little bit spread out in terms of points. You get 250 points for a win, 200 for second, 160 for third, and so on. Right the way down to 8 points for 60th place. Natalia Fischer, 2nd in the overall standings, the Spanish champion. 600 points she has, so she's got a goodly margin over Goreca-Kerman. All these female athletes have had one person to try and beat, and this is it. This is Anna Weinbeer from the KTM Spada team, wearing the leader's jersey. She has just been absolutely unstoppable all 3 rounds so far. Capolaveri earlier on in Calpe and in Andorra last week. She just absolutely annihilated the field. Anna Weinbeer leads the standings then, ahead of Fischer and Goreca-Kerman. Claudia Peretti 4th, Amanda Bolin 5th. Nice to see Chelsea Bolton in the top 15. Nice to see the Americans back up in the top 20. Send the start very early this morning, 7 o'clock. And away they go. The top 5 women in the general standings leading off. Now they go this little bit of tarmac here and then they swing off to the right in the first climb of the day. To Dante Chipies. Climb of 5.6 kilometers. It's a pretty steep one to start, to be honest. It's one that spreads the field out. Now normally on this ride you'll get 1 or 2 riders who show really early, push really hard really early. They don't often stay there, but occasionally they can show their hand very early on in the race and have the strength to continue. That has been the case with Anna Weinbeer as Fischer leads them through first of all. Swing right and then off onto gravel. This is the point of the race where everybody, obviously, they've just started, they'll be looking at each other. They'll just want to settle into some sort of pace, get the nerves a little bit under control. Anna Weinbeer in the center, in the all red. KTM rider leading the Marathon World Cup by a healthy margin. 750 points. The closest rider to her is the rider on her right, Natalia Fischer, the Spanish champion, in the green, but you can see the champion stripes around that the chest and the arms. This then is the course. Come out of Selva Gardena. They climb up to Dante Chipies over the Passo Gardena. Down to the Pralonga. 6.4 kilometers. So this is where you can start really seeing who's got legs, because you can put a little bit more pace on. And even a half a kilometer is going to be really hard work here. And then we start getting into the really legendary climbs. The Passo Podoi, so often used on the road in the Giro d'Italia. That road on the left, the winding road on the left, is the one that they use. This is all on gravel, Land Rover type tracks. Then up the Lupo Bianco to Passo Sella. They're taking a different route this year. Normally they take the left-hand road, they take the right-hand road this year. It's actually a lot steeper than the previous route. They've made it a little bit harder. And then back down into Selva Gardena. Beautiful, long, fast run in. I would expect the order to be looking pretty good by the time they get to the Port d'Oie. And here we are with some of the shots earlier in the day of the women's race. This is Dante Chipiez, the first climb of the day. That is Peretti. Well, looking strong. Just getting a little bit of a distance here. Over, it looks like Bolin behind, maybe. There is Anna Weinbeer. You can see third back in that shot in the all red. Now we see her from behind. Maybe not quite as dominant as she has been, and maybe perhaps the field thinking we've got to take this race to her. We've got to try and break her early on. And Claudia Peretti just grinding away, pulling out just a little bit of a lead on Dante Chipiez. Claudia Peretti, 16 seconds ahead of Chelsea Bolton. Niemkiewicz, a great rider, the bots from Bosnia-Herzegovina. We've not really seen much of her. Rebecca Corman, third in the championship, 123 back. Rosa van Dorn, 142 back. Anna Weinbeer ceding 2 minutes and 2 seconds to Claudia Peretti at this point, at the first climb of the day. What you can't allow, and Fischer, look, even further back, 3 minutes 41. So Peretti really, really going hard. What you cannot do is let these riders get 2, 3, 3.5 minutes ahead of you. It's the only thing you can think of then is I hope they blow up rather than anything else, or they have a mechanical or whatever. But leaving it to chance like that is a bit difficult. But you know, you're only as good as you are on the day. This is a brute of a course. It is by far the hardest race in the world on the marathon circuit, and all of them are fantastic because they all have their own characters. Started off at the end of February with Costa Blanca in Calpe, then on to Capolaveri on Elba. Good temperature today, 20 degrees is about right, really. Humidity, that's okay. The last thing you'd want is it to be hot and humid, especially in these sort of conditions. We're pretty high up, and you get up to about 8,000 feet or so as we're climbing, and only the strong survive, and only those who are probably used to racing at altitude. Everybody's very, very aware. Is the men warming up? We're waiting to take on the challenge of this race. David Valero is the current leader of the Marathon World Cup, 490 points, but he only has a 5-point advantage of Wout Alleman, and not far behind is Leonardo Paez, the absolute legend. There is Valero. Well, warming up, absolutely part of the process.
It's always to start pretty slowly. I think in this race it's going to make a difference because as the name of the race said, it's the toughest race on the planet, so you have to take it very carefully. And let's see, I hope with this strategy to start a bit slower than usual, to have more energy in the finals to back up some positions. Yes, I think it will be pretty difficult, especially on the Ornella climb. I think it's the most steepest and hardest climb I have ever done in my life. And to have it on a race, it's pretty difficult to do it. So I hope to try to start, as I said before, slowly, to try to do pretty hard on the Ornella, and then let's see on the last 2 climbs what my legs have more in.
Che mi piace, che amo, è sempre che vengo qua mi riempie di gioia, anche di forza, no? E contento di essere qua, sì. E magari la prendo con un
Yeah, I
po'
think I
più di
might take it a bit.
tranquillità, ma anche
I think I might
come
take it
se
a bit
fosse
more
la
tranquil,
prima,
a bit
perché comunque
easier.
ci tengo a far bene
Well, it's still to go
e non è
well.
facile al passare degli
Players.
anni,
8
ma
times
ci
to win
tengo a
it.
far bene come sempre. E sì, ormai si parte sempre forte, no? Io cerco di gestirmi, per
It's the always the
fortuna riesco a
strongest
tenere ancora
wins.
la ruota
It's the
dell'oro, si può
players.
dire, poi sul finale magari sono un po' più avvantaggiato.
Leonardo Paes has won 8 of these races. Quite extraordinary. Andreas Seewald sporting a fine moustache these days. Seewald wearing the colours of the European champion, which he was in 2025. David Foccoli. 2 Scott riders on this front row. Samuele Porro has had a very, very good season so far. And then Goria Stefano Goria, should I say, is 4th overall in the standings. The Scott team will be pretty happy so far with their outing, but these are the 3 men really making waves at the top. This is Leonardo Paes. He's coming good. It was all right in the first round, but it's at low altitude, and that doesn't really play to his strength. He loves the altitude, the Colombian. And he's won this race 8 times. It's a record that he's incredibly proud of, and rightly so. Wildcard Alleman rode brilliantly at the beginning of the season. And again, has had one race that wasn't quite so good. But the man who's really coming good at the moment is this man here, David Valero, from the Climazia Orbea team. He has really just inched away at that top. He has a 5-point lead now over Wout Alleman. And I would expect Alleman, Paes and Valero to really try and absolutely stick to each other like glue today. It's a fine shot. Either very arty or somebody dropped the camera, one of the two. David Valero leads ahead of Wout Alleman. Leandro Paes, the Colombian, in 3rd spot. Then Stefano Goria, Samuele Porro. Good to see Geschke in the somewhere near the top. The Chilean. Fabian Rabensteiner would like to have done a little bit better, I think, and be down in the early 20s. And away go the men. This was earlier today, of course. Now, the men tend to start slightly differently to the women here, at least in my experience of this race, which is about 8 years now doing this. The men tend to sort of settle in at this point, and then suddenly they really will just try the legs. As soon as they get through that first corner into Dante Chipies, they really will push quite hard, or some of them do, just to see who's got the chops early on in the race. And away, look, we've already got one rider setting what a pretty brisk pace off the front here. The speed quite a lot faster than the women. Women tend to be a lot more sensible, a lot more guarded. Magnificent for the crowds, this venue. It really is. And surprisingly, there are quite a few that get out on the course, as well as watching the start and finish. But there's a big party atmosphere all day long in the center of Val Gardena. This then is the men's course, 86 kilometers, climbing up over Dante Chipies, say 14.3%. Really does test you out. Up to the Prolongia. The route that they take is a little steeper, 8.9%, and then you've got some pretty technically challenging stuff around the sides of these hills. Lots and lots of very rocky slopes up onto Terrassus. 9.1 kilometers of climbing, all the way up 8.6%. By this point, on the Duron, the men really want to be separated out into the group or single riders that they want to be with. They're really putting the hammer down towards the run in and the finish back in Selva Gardena. Again, this long, swooping run across the hillsides, the edges of the mountains, running around the shoulder of the mountains, back into Selva Gardena. .86 kilometers of pure torture. Back with the men earlier today. Oh, the women, sorry. And the men, I think they're just passing each other, some of them. And a pretty large group running over the top at Dante Chipias to start with. The Dutch champion, Smeng, ahead of Diego Rosa. Wout Alleman in the top 5 there. See the Swiss rider Casey South. I think he was born in Canada actually, but in that top 10. Andres Seval in the top 10. Rabin Steiner, such a great competitor for so many years, in 12th spot. Torriconi, who had a brilliant race in Elba, 16th, 1 minute and 22 seconds down. The Dutchman really piling on the pressure. I'm not sure I'd expect him to be there in 2 or 3 passes time, but you never know. You can just see how incredibly steep this is for a first climb. I mean, it really does go either way at this point. Either, whoa, look at that. Excellent. What we like to see. Well, he certainly wants to make his mark, doesn't he? In Smenke from the Netherlands. Punching in over the front of those bars yesterday, wanting to really put the hammer down and pull out as much of a lead as he could. They didn't let him. There is David Valero, look, already on the wheel. But they are really trying hard, pushing really hard. Wout Alleman goes through the shot. That looks like Paes. Leonardo Paes is a great descender. It's so beautiful to watch. On the Alta Bardia. You can't get more spectacular shots than that. You almost just want to let it breathe. Let the shot breathe. You don't need to hear me, it's just beautiful. Back at the women's, this is Claudia Peretti on the Prolongia. This is one of the real crunch points of the race. She looks pretty consistently cool here. Looks like Greta Kerman, the Polish rider. Very tall, rangy rider. Well, she has Peretti 2 minutes up the road. We have Chiara Gualandi in the middle, but not far ahead of the pole. Rosa Van Doorn holding 6th place. That's good. Niemkovic 2 minutes and 19 seconds, but that's the one that counts. Anna Weinbeer 3 minutes and 38 seconds down on Claudia Peretti. That's a big gap. She's been riding just supremely. Adelheid Marath, 13th spot, 7 minutes down, a former winner here. And there is our current leader. She'll be aware that they're up the road. I mean, she'll want to win this. Everybody wants to win this race because it is the toughest and most prestigious race in the world. But you've got to remember, you're playing for points here. There are points right the way down to 60th spot. The women's race the women's leaderboard is a little bit more open. You've got 750 points for Anna Weinbeer, 600 for Natalia Fischer, the Spanish champion, and 450 for Greka Kerman. If you're not feeling 100%, what you've got to do is limit your losses. You can't slip too far down the field. You have to make sure you're still accumulating points. So even if Anna Weinbeer is not cut out to win this today, she has to stay up there somewhere in the top 5 or 6 because she has to be able to keep that points gap. Now, the real battle are these men here. David Valero, Wout Allemann, and Leonardo Paes all together here by the look of it. And in fact, the men on the tableau not too distant from each other at the moment. The top 9 are all pretty closely packed together, and they will be watching each other. And I would say the pace is pretty brisk. Allemann in the middle, in the Belgian champions jersey, you can see. Paes at the... What's the Paes? No, it's not Paes at the back. Valero at the front of this little group. Remember, you're watching shots from earlier in the race today as Claudia Peretti decides to take that route across the grass rather than the winding single track. Of course, it's a much shorter route, but it's not necessarily quicker. Grass can be very sapping in terms of energy. Rosa van Doorn at 3 minutes. Anna Weinbeer now at 6 minutes and 26 seconds. It's not going to be Anna Weinbeer's day today, nor Natalia Fischer at 10 minutes back. So the leaderboard about to be mixed up a little bit. Peretti pulling out quite a big margin over a lot of these riders. Women on the left-hand side of your screen, men on the right-hand side of your screen. There is a little bit of tarmac in these races, not as much as, say, you might get in a gravel race, but there is some. They're not hanging about, that's for sure. The Dutchman goes through your shot. Valero now has gone to the front of that group ahead of Leonardo Paes and Wout Allemann at 7 seconds. Keep an eye on those 3. Those are the ones you really, really need to keep an eye on at the moment. There is only, there's less than 10 points separating the top 2. And remember, there's 250 points for victory. Look at that. You can see why it's such a hugely popular destination for outdoor sports, and climbing is difficult here. Little dusting of snow we saw earlier on some of the mountain tops, but that has become less and less over the years as climate change has taken its inevitable toll on the ice fields. Here, live timings now from the women's race. This is Claudia, well, you can see Claudia Peretti ahead of Rosa van Doorn. That's definitely her best showing so far, Van Doorn. Greka Kerman, and then Weinbeer down the road, and Niemkiewicz. Well, there was over 6 minutes back to Anna Weinbeer from Claudia Peretti earlier in the race. We'll have our live update on timings as soon as it comes, but Claudia Peretti really racing well today. Peretti fourth overall in the standings on 370 points. She is nearly 380 points back on Anna Weinbeer. But remember, it's such a large amount of points. It sort of slightly skews what you think those points are. Anna Weinbeer has had the perfect start to the season. She's on 750 points ahead of Fischer, Spanish champion, 600, Greka Kerman on 450, and then Claudia Peretti on 370. But you can see on the left-hand side, the numbers dictate where they are in the championship, in the World Cup standings. So a win for her today would bring her to over 600 points and haul her up into the top three, comfortably ahead of Greka Kerman, if Greka Kerman were not to finish. But she's riding well. There she is, the pole. And what is the gap for the next riders? There's Rosa van Toorn. And how far ahead is Claudia Peretti now? That's great to be able to get those shots. Look, there is the visual gap. So Peretti, she has her gap of 3 minutes and 15 seconds, but it just goes to show how tough this course is. You can see from the air that they are physically not that far apart. Even less so, of course, for Van Doorn and Greta Kerman, just a minute apart, but it's really, really tough going. So physically, it doesn't make any difference. It's all about timing. Just under 3 hours and 25 minutes in the saddle. Weinbeer still at 6 minutes and 25, and we saw this a little bit in the past, that at this point of the course it's just easier and quicker to get off. Everybody wants to ride as much of the course as possible, but frankly, sometimes it's easier to get off. What you can't do so much these days, that you used to be able to do, is the design of modern full suspension cross-country mountain bikes means they're difficult to sling over your shoulder. And so it's this constant pushing on the ground. But that actually is a far less efficient way of doing it. You've just got to plug away at that. When mountain bike racing first took off big times in the late 80s, early 90s worldwide, most bikes were still traditional diamond frames, running 26-inch wheels. But you've got something like that. You could sling it over your shoulder and run up if you had the fitness, or just walk up, whichever you. Depends how long it was. But the great exponents of that were the European cyclocross riders. They were excellent at it. The Thomas Frischnichs, the Heinrich Denises, the Mike Klugers. They were very, very good. And people like David Baker and Tim Gould. They could sling the bike over their shoulder and run. That's not something that can happen as easily these days. So tactics have changed a little bit. Nearly all riders riding full suspension now. Shortest travel at the rear, 130 at the front, and all on 29s now. Although the trend, it appears, is to now go to 32-inch wheels, and that's certainly now showing its face in gravel bike racing. You wonder where it's going to stop, isn't it? We'll be back on penny farthings at some point. Claudia Peretti. Well, some riders may find this a little bit annoying. Some of them may just think, you know what, I'm just going to push the bike, try and gain a little bit of recovery. But it is awkward and it can be frustrating. Really, really long climb. This is Van Doorn. drove beautifully last year. And her early season's not been quite as good as last year. She's a lovely character. And speaking to her recently, is, well, you know, how do you train for something like this? She said, well, I can't really. I live in a part of the Netherlands that literally has one hill, and it's 200 meters high. That's it. So what I do is I just go backwards and forwards over the same hill. Van Dorn trying to take the bike actually up these little stepped inclines here, rather than pushing it on the grass. It's a good job it's dry, actually, because that's not an easy slope to be trying to run up. Mountain bike shoes, of course, have the cleat inset into the base of the shoe, so that it's not as difficult as, you know, if you've never worn a pair of mountain bike shoes, but you've seen maybe what they have on road shoes. You have that cleat which is external basically to the sole, and mountain bike shoe is set into the sole, so you've got some big knobbly spikes on them, big knobbly edges on the bottom to grip if you have to get off the bike. But even so, this is not an easy slope. It's ironic, isn't it, that you get some of the longest and best shots when they're off the bike pushing it up here. It's inevitable, I would imagine. You do, however, get a good idea of how somebody is feeling and what their general state is on a push like that. Because you will find halfway up, if they're beginning to suffer, they'll just collapse. It'll be a real slog rather than a rhythmical push. Back on the bike then for our leader, Claudia Peretti, and Greta Kerman. She's gone for the full grass approach, straight up the middle. This lady lying third in the championships. Rosa Van Dorn just ahead of her. She hasn't had the sort of stellar riding season early on that she had. And look at the gap. Greta Kerman, she's got longer legs, maybe that helps on this bit, but the gap is definitely quite small there. She could make up some real time here if she feels as though she's got the energy and she can stretch those long legs. She could make up a bit of time on Rosa Van Dorn here. 7th in the World Cup standings, the rider from the Netherlands here, and I think she really doesn't like this at all. I don't think any of them do, frankly. Gap back to Anna Weinbeer, 6 minutes and 25 seconds, the leader of the World Cup standings. Niemkiewicz, 8th overall in the standings, just behind Claudia Peretti, back on the bike. Great to see these live shots. Beautiful weather. And if you've watched this race before live, this is an area that we don't normally see. They've really thrown everything at this production to date, which is fantastic. Fantastic for television, it's fantastic for marathon mountain biking, and it's great for the organisers to see this. Look, see all these people who've managed to make their way up here. And that just taped off so that spectators can get in there. There might be something on the track, but I don't think so. I think it's just spectator zone. 3 minutes and 25 seconds back to Rosa Van Dorn. They have the gap of 40 seconds now to Greta Kerman. Look a bit closer than that on the push. You have to wonder how long it'll be before we start seeing prototype 32-inch wheel machines, especially in marathon, because that sort of rolling that you want at speed is something that's being really touted. Well, you have to say that it's something that will certainly benefit taller riders. Whether it benefits the shorter riders is another thing. Your frame can only be a certain size. In fact, there might well be some 32s in the field today. I wonder what goes through your mind. I know what would be going through my mind. I'm thinking, when is this going to end? She's still got the energy, Rosa van Doorn. She's broken into that sort of little trot at the top there to try and get a bit more of a gap. It's further down the field. That's Anna Weinbeer on the far left-hand side of your screen in the bright red shorts and top. The KTM rider. Well, that's a difficult point to start. I would have started a little bit further on, but no, she's fine. Rebecca Kerman, the Polish rider, now back in the saddle. There is our series leader, Anna Weinbeer. Fourth. 6 minutes and 10 seconds back on Claudia Peretti, the latest time check. But, well, look at that. Yes, go on. Give it a go. Oh, brave effort, I have to say. Now, we may be making a little bit light of that, but the fact is, a lot of riders can ride of these things. They could keep grinding away, but you take a lot of energy out of yourself doing that. In a race this tough and this long, you have to conserve as much energy as possible, and riding is not the way of doing it. So Peretti has a comfortable lead over Rosa van Doorn, and then Paula Greco-Kerman. Anna Weinbeer currently in fourth. And that's still going to amass her a number of points with 100 points. So if she can keep in that position, she'll maintain a decent lead at the top of the standings. She's approaching the top of this pushed climb now. She lost a big amount between Pordoi and Lupo Bianco. This is the new section we're watching. That fearsome foot climb has been added to make it just super difficult. Peretti back in the saddle with a good lead over the Dutch rider Van Doorn. And looking pretty comfortable, actually. Magnificent views. Really, I mean, you see the Tour de France, you see the Giro d'Italia, you manage to see the great views as it goes through towns and through the mountains, but you get it all day here. And hats off to the production team for doing a great job. Peretti's been a little bit up and down, as you can see. The red sections on the bottom aspect show where she's lost time. So just backwards and forwards, ebbing and flowing. And this is a typical descent here on the Giro Dolomites. You can see that it's got some fairly substantial rock that just sort of sits in patches on what is a fairly hard packed surface. Have to be a little bit careful sometimes because they hit those, it can be a bit skittish. Puncture's not usually an issue here. not like some of the other rounds. Peretti now 3:29 ahead of Van Dorn. But this is an impressive ride by Greta Kerman. She's been very consistent all the way through the series so far. This is an area, of course, you can come and ride yourself very, very easily, because flights from all over Europe, particularly if you're based in Europe, or of course, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, but the flights are to either Innsbruck in Austria, or you can go a little bit further south in Italy. The big issue is getting to this point, which is about an hour and a half in each direction from a major airport. So make sure you hire yourself a car. But once you're here, it'll just be an experience never to forget, because there's so much amazing mountain biking that you can do. And the whole of this area, like a lot of areas like southern France, bits of Switzerland, but mostly northern Italy, have made a real industry out of catering for walkers and climbers, obviously, and mountain biking in particular during the summer. Ski resorts have huge, well-appointed hotels. In fact, in Selva Gardena, they're all tiny little ones, which is beautiful, because they're all little intimate, cozy hotels. But they cater for mountain biking in the summer brilliantly. A couple of good bike shops here as well, so yeah, get yourself over here, ride this route if you want. 60 kilometers for the women, 3,200 meters of climbing, 86 kilometers for the men, and we're hoping to dip into the men live as well, not just take the women to the end, but dip into the men and see how they're going. Rosa Van Dorn out of the saddle, looking all right though. You want to stay as much in the saddle as you possibly can. Sometimes see the roadies or people who train a lot on the road, they do get up out of the saddle and just swing the bike around a little bit, just to give it a little bit added momentum. But you really want to stay planted in that saddle as much as you can do. Spin the legs. Of course, everybody has their particular riding style. Some riders have a higher cadence than others. Van Dorn, sort of medium. I always think Rosa Van Dorn sits a little more upright than perhaps some other riders. Seems to be working okay for her today. Not a bad descender. Look at the live tracking then. You can see the gap. Claudia Peretti almost off the bottom of your screen there on the right-hand side. Rosa Van Dorn, Greta Kerman and Anna Weinbeer just getting a little closer together. And Weinbeer, in fact, has taken nearly a minute back on the leader Peretti. I don't think she's not aiming at her anymore. I don't think will be aiming at Greta Kerman. She's got a fair way to go. She's got 1 minute and 30 seconds to make up. And I think that's a pretty tough ask at this particular point. Super fast run in down now. Taking the right hand line, letting the arms and legs off the brakes, just letting the back wheel slide around. I think she's looking a bit nervous on the descent, to be fair. You've got to let your arms and legs relax when you're doing this. You really can't get tense. Takes to the grass, and that in itself can be a bit of a challenge. You can come off a loose gravel surface, get onto grass, and believe it or not, grass is incredibly slippery. Dry grass in particular can be much slippier than you think. So moving from one surface to another can be quite difficult. A bit of a twitch from the back. Peretti in in control, but running down towards the finish now for Peretti. And she'll want to be as hard on it as she can and let the bike just drift underneath her. As we see the men's race live on the right-hand side. So a quick shot of David Valero, the current World Cup leader. And there we are, we're going to go live with the men's now. This is the leading group. Tepki is the next rider back from the leading group. Wout Alleman has lost time. 1 minute and 20 seconds. Paries. It's Valero. Sminga from the Netherlands, who's clawed his way back up again, and Diego Rosa, the Italian, in that top four. See the Dutchman at the back there. Paries closest to the white helmet with the darker red and grey of the Lee Coogan squad. In the red, just lying second spot now, is the current World Cup leader. And Diego Rosa, the other rider, in the orange at the front. Well, these four seem to be riding nicely together. Not necessarily pushing super hard at this point. And maybe Cerci can get back. Good ride by Rosa. Dutch national champion just taking his turn coming through here. Rosa has taken a turn on the front. This is where you do see a little bit of a ride, slightly like a road race. You've got these four riders working together. They will work on and off at the front, because surprisingly, you still get, well, I should say unsurprising, you still get wind resistance. Valero, Paes, Sminga and Rosa, the top four riders, two way up in the standings and two not way up in the standings. Great ride by Tim Smenga, 24th overall in the World Cup standings. Diego Rosa even better. Just 54 points to his name. This is trying to bridge that gap. Riding quite hard. He seems to be just eating away at it. 25 seconds has now come down to 20 seconds. But, you know, when you've got four riders working together, they just have to do a little turn on the front, little turn on the front, little turn on the front. But you can see just under the graphic, there we are. You can see that Cerci has them in the sights. Look. You can physically see them up the road. And if he notices he's just chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, that will give him a huge amount of heart. And I think he is going to catch them pretty quickly now. None of these four riders in the front really want to take the initiative here. I mean, this is good for the World Cup leader, David Valero. He's got himself in the leading group. He's got Leonardo Paes with him. Paes is third in the championship, but he's 94 points behind in the World Cup standings. So there's still a comfortable gap between Valero and Paes. Paes would love to win this. He's won it 8 times already. But the other two riders are way down in the World Cup standings at the moment. Diego Rosa with only 54 points. I mean, if he were to win, it would catapult him up way up the leaderboard. In fact, he'd probably end up somewhere in the top 10, which is great. The same for Tim Smenga, the Dutch national champion. So it's good for the two riders who are first and third in the championships, because they've got two riders who really, really, really want to do well, and they'll do the lion's share of the work, or at least they'll try and make them do the lion's share of the work, because it benefits the Dutchman and the Italian to work hard, to try and stay ahead, to keep pushing on so that they can get a place on the podium in this prestigious race and get the points, whereas Valero and Paez, yes, they want the points. Yes, they want the win. But do they want it quite as much as the other two riders in their group, who may or may not have expected to have been there? This is Wout Alleman. Alleman at 55 seconds. But again, it's about positions, not always about being on the podium. Points are on offer. He has to try and stay in touch. Only 5 points down in the standings, below David Valero, who just overhauled him in the last race. Well, Alleman was the leading rider. He was turning a huge gear there for a minute. Is it going to be Alleman's day? He has to at least maintain this position. Diego Rosa on the front. Paez in second spot, Colombian. An 8 times winner of this particular race. Currently lying third. He was third in the World Championships last year, Paez, but he has won the World Championship twice. Still at the very top of his game as he goes to the front to push on a little bit harder. He won the World Championships back-to-back in 2019 and 2020. And I think much as he loves being a world champion, oddly, this is the race he really loves as they're climbing up towards the Giron now. Cerci still hammering away, isn't he? Trying to close that gap, which I think it's just eked out a little bit more again. Maybe Paez has pushed the pressure on a little bit. That's so demoralizing for somebody who's chasing, and you can see that you're closing the gap, and then the guys in the front get back on the pace. Alleman still holding the gap at a minute. There's a particular mindset to racing these marathon races, and anybody who has ever raced one or used to race mountain bike back in the day, back up to the sort of almost the late 90s, when longer races were standard. This sort of Olympic format mountain bike race now is very short, very technical, very fast, and it has become a spectacular thing to watch, and it's great for television, of course. This is very much like the roots of mountain biking. You could almost transfer yourself back to Big Bear or something, or Mammoth Mountain, back in the late 80s, early 90s in the United States of America, because this is what it was about, this big, long races over long fire roads. Rosa Van Dorn here. Van Dorn 2 minutes and 50 seconds down on Peretti. The gap is closing. And Anna Weinbeer now within 55 seconds of Rebecca Kerman. Things have still got time to change here. 2K to the top of the climb. The Assad Duran, this is the last climb of the day, and she'll really want to hammer up as much as she can. Claudia Peretti descending. Well, watch out for the fight between Paula Rebecca-Kerman at 4 minutes down and Anna Weinbeer at 4:45. She's definitely closing the gap. Peretti is off the top of the Giron now with a 2 minute and 45 second lead over Rosa Van Dorn. She is running in towards the finish now at Val Gardena. This shortish road section can get a bit of a breather, and then they fling themselves off to the right. There we go, back onto the single track again, and really start to hammer down here into the finish. It's such a beautiful shot. And this is a brilliant race by Claudia Peretti. Peretti, who started the day in 4th overall in the World Cup standings on 370 points, is riding to a victory here at Hero Sud Dolomites. It's going to take another 250 points. And that will bring her up in the standings. The big loser today, the really big loser today, is Natalia Fischer. She's way down. We have to think about, again, the positions rather than just the times, but she's a way down. Certainly nowhere near the front today. Fischer, who started on 600 points, in 2nd spot. As Claudia Peretti comes in towards the finish. She has this small piece of single track still to go. And then she'll run down to almost a hairpin bend. Turn left and down into the square in Salva Val Gardena. It's not over yet. 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And the gap is now 30 seconds between Anna Weinbeer and Paula Greco-Kerman. Completely unsupported races, these, remember, and there's no radios as you get in road racing, nothing at all. So some of these riders are not aware, unless they can look over their shoulders on long climbs and long descents. They probably won't look over their shoulders on long descent, but on a long climb you might just catch a glimpse of somebody as Claudia Peretti takes the left-hand hairpin, running down into the center of Selva Gardena, takes the Italian flag and comes home to win the toughest mountain bike race in the world. Peretti is the champion of the Dolomite. And she's coming good. That's a great win because she took the lead pretty early on and she's been consistent. She's lost a little bit of time for the riders behind her in the last 15 or so kilometers, but that doesn't really matter. That's a magnificent ride by Claudia Peretti. The Olympia rider. 3:53.48. And just keep an eye on the clock on the right-hand side of the screen at the bottom. She's looking around for the team. Where is everybody? Ah, there you are. Good ride. This is Rosa van Doorn. Good ride by Van Doorn today. Dutch woman has started to come good. Slower start to the season, certainly in terms of speed, because she's amassed points. Not too much of an issue. She was 7th starting in the World Cup standings this morning as she comes down to this final little bit of single track. Claudia Peretti taking the victory. Magnificent style, I have to say. It's an impressive ride by Peretti. Peretti will now take away 620 points in this World Cup standings race. If it was to finish right now and nothing else would have happened, then she would then be in 2nd spot overall. But I think she's possibly going to make her way up to 3rd spot. The question is, will Greco-Kerman lose a lot of ground? Because she's losing time hand over fist at the moment, as Rosa van Doorn comes in to take 2nd spot on the podium. That's a good ride. .231, or 230, yes, 231 behind Claudia Peretti for Rosa van Doorn. The question is who's going to come in 3rd, because Greco-Kerman and the World Cup standings leader Anna Weinbeer were getting closer and closer together. Weinbeer chasing down Goreca Kerman. That would have an effect, I think, on the points, the third spot as well, because Claudia Peretti has won. She started 4th this morning. Goreca Kerman started 3rd. And look at this. There's Goreca Kerman and there's Anna Weinbeer just behind her. Oh, my word. This is going to be close. And Goreca Kerman will know she's there now, that's for sure. She won't have looked over her shoulder. It's amazing. You can just tell. You hear the sort of clanking of gears or whatever you hear behind you, and you think, is it? Oh, Goreca Kerman has just hung on. And that's vital. That could be vital in the cup standings. And Weinbeer's almost there. She's going to try and chase it to the line, but it's not going to happen. The pole just about hangs on, and that's a super close finish. There'd been a bit of a scare for Paola Goreca Kerman then. Whoo, to close out the cheeks. What a great finish by Anna Weinbeer. And Goreca Kerman is absolutely shattered. She knows she's had to work hard for that 3rd spot. Oh, what a great finish. Well, Anna Weinbeer almost pulled off a surprise, didn't she? She almost took 3rd spot off the pole. You could see the time tumbling, and then we saw that overhead shot. My word, they were close. Just run out of time to do so. So Peretti will go away with 620 points at the end of today. And the Goreca Kerman, crucially, securing a 3rd spot, 160 points. 610. She will lose, I think, her 3rd spot to Claudia Peretti by just 10 points. If my maths is right. Natalia Fischer will remain in 2nd spot, but she'll get enough points to stay above them. She has 600 points already. The 2 riders behind her will have 610, 620, Freddie and 610 respectively. So the big change in the standings will be between 4th and 3rd. Peretti moving up to 3rd, Goreca Kerman moving down to 4th, if my maths is correct, and always provisional, of course.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just waiting for the show of the Carabinieri with the parachute.
Look, snow. There you can see the ups and downs of Peretti, Van Dorn, Goreca Kerman and Weinbeer. The green obviously is where they're pulling out. And as the colours change, it shows how their performance is changing. So Peretti did lose time at the end. Anna Weinbeer really pushing hard in the second half of the race, closed that gap tremendously from 6 minutes and 20 seconds down to 3:55. That's a great ride by Anna Weinbeer, but just not quite enough to secure 3rd spot.
Una cosa no. Allora andiamo avanti, intanto abbiamo la quinta, Deborah Piana.
Piana, 6 minutes 52, next best place rider. Should be pleased with that. Consistent Piana, but never quite has made it to the very top. She started 27th overall in the cup standings this morning, 78 points. So she'll claw her way up a little bit. There's some great riders ahead of her. Tanja Prila, the German. Mary Gray, the Antipodean rider. We've got Calderon from Venezuela. Clara Soma from Austria. I think those will be overhauled by Deborah Piana. Another KTM rider coming in. Remember, Anna Weinbeer, the lead rider in that KTM team. Again, it's all about points. All about points. Mara Fumagalli.
Mara Fumagalli al traguardo, poco contenta.
8 minutes and 12 seconds. Fumagalli. An excellent rider, Fumagalli. She's been around for quite a while, and that's a good finish. Well, we want to grab some interviews at the finish line.
Claudia Peretti, the winner, congratulations first. It was a win from the start to the finish, always in front. Your comment?
Yeah, thank you. I started the race in front. I had a very good sensation at the beginning in the first climb of Passo Gardena, and then I still pedal strong. And I'm super happy for today because for me, I think for all the riders, this is one of the most important race that we have in marathon. So I can be more happy than I'm today, no?
You prepared this race very well. You renounced to the 100 kilometer day 40. You went to Bordeaux on altitude, so you wanted to win the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this year I felt strong at the beginning of the season, and I very decided to do this race with the best shape that I have never had in this period.
Thank you very much. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. She realised that she was in good shape on the first climb. Again, it's that testing out thing, isn't it? It's going out there, putting their little bit of pressure on, seeing how your rivals are sorted out. This then the top 8. Fumagalli we saw come in, Amanda Bolin from Sweden. That's a good result for her. Niemkovic 8th. Interesting, she was 8th overall when she started the race this morning. Bolin was 5th, so yeah, conceding a little bit, but riders there or thereabouts. Sandra Meyerhofer is one of the riders that we haven't seen, starting 9th overall. I think we've got Rosa van Doorn down on the finish line now, which is great. It's always good to have.
Second at the Hero 2026, the World Cup winner last year, Rosa van Doorn, recovered very well from her injury at Cap Epic. How did you feel today? Was Claudia Peretti too strong?
Yeah, for sure. Claudia Peretti had a really strong day, but actually I didn't expect to come to have like a podium spot today. I was just riding. I didn't do altitude training because of the injury. So yeah, I'm super happy. Actually, I didn't expect that I was able to finish her. I'm second. How is it possible to be second today? Also after last year, I was 9 and I was second. So yeah, quite happy. It was an amazing course. The last climb was crazy steep. Oh, it was super hard. But I think South of Gardena is like a paradise to ride your bike. It's super beautiful.
So you never expected to become second today, or?
No, absolutely not. No. No, I'm quite happy.
What's your goal this year in the World Cup at least?
Latin Moon is a super nice race. I would love to win this race. But also I go full, I'll focus on the Europeans and the World Championships. So that's coming closer, and I'm really looking forward for the next of the build-up. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're very happy, Rosa van Doorn, which is good. As we watch Natalia Fischer, who was second in the standings this morning, finishing 10th spot. So yeah, she's way ahead of the riders, but she'll be second in the championship. Rosa van Doorn, very happy. Not expecting to win. Not expecting to be on the podium. So well. Still the congratulations coming for Claudia Peretti on the left-hand side there. Big smile on the face of Natalia Fischer, which is good. Well, one rider who had to work really, really hard is Paolo Greco-Kurman. And didn't reach the finish line.
Paula Goretzka-Kurman, third this year, third last year. That's the first podium this year in the World Cup. How do you feel?
Yes, finally I had to be really patient because I was 3 times on the 4th position. So I needed to keep going, and now finally I can come to the podium. But the fight was really hard today. The competitors are stronger and stronger, and many riders are able to come to the podium.
Yes, you're a few years on the tour already, long time on the tour, so you can study your adversaries. And what feeling did you have with Anna Weinberg in the World Cup this year and with Claudia Peretti this year?
So to be clear, I am in the 2nd year a lot in marathons because I come from cross-country Olympic. I make it also this year, but the 2nd season with focus also on marathons. And this year Anna was and still is really strong. We were thinking if it's possible to beat her. Yes, it is, but it's still really hard, and you need to give your best. Also to fight with Natalia, Rosa, Claudia. There are so many good riders.
And how did you prepare for this race? Altitude or?
No, for this race, no. I want to make some peak before the Europeans, which come in 1 month. This year was just another one in a row. The next week I will start in World Cup Cross Country Olympic in Lenzerheide, but I will concentrate me on the training for Europeans.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that's a great interview because that really does show what we were talking about earlier, is the fact that people were wondering whether Anna Weinberg was going to be beaten. She was absolutely unstoppable in the first 3 rounds of the World Cup. It's interesting that Greco-Kurman is now going to concentrate on the Europeans for marathon, but also she's starting to train for the Olympic cross-country distance. Whether you can mix the two, I don't know. I mean, it's Greco-Kurman clearly has managed to make a transition very well. But to make it up to the top step of the podium, is that quite the way it's going to work? Because the disciplines are very different. Great to see her just keeping Anna Weinberg at bay, though. Such a beautiful area of the world. It's absolutely magnificent. This then, the men's 14 kilometers to the finish. Our leading 4 riders. Well, there's a little bit of a gap now. You can see the Dutchman, Smenga, and Serrano, the World Cup leader, together, and then just under 10 seconds back to Diego Rosa and Leonardo Paredes, 8-time winner here. Andres Seewald at 2:53. Wild Dollarman had a minute down, 2:21 down, but the big loser there, Dario Cerci, he did cut the gap down to 15 seconds. But I think that was because the 4 riders ahead, as we said when we saw them live last time, they were just not really pushing at 100% or 99%. This is a great ride by the Dutchman. Here he is on the front, and you can see the 2 riders chasing and trying to stay in touch, and it is the Dutchman who's putting the hammer down. Pushing on, pushing on. You can see it's his day today. And again, another rider who took the pace up very early on. And clearly, as they say in Europe, had a good sensation in his legs, felt good. He's been able to be up there all the time. Diego Rosa, going through your shot, started 62nd overall today. This is Sevold. Three minutes down. Andres Sevold. The winner here previously. Well, Chachi has lost a lot of time there now. The Dutchman and the current World Cup leader pushing on. And the question is, will the other two just behind them, 10 seconds down, will they be able to close that gap? They could do. They could do it easily on a descent. It's not very much. David Valero started with a 5-point lead over Wout Alleman this morning, and a 90-point lead, 94-point lead actually, over Leonardo Paez. So today, if Alleman stays where he is further down the field, he can still amass the points. He might well stay second. Leonardo Paez could overhaul him, but he will want to try and get on that podium. He want to win this race if he possibly can. Big losers in terms of time today: Stefano Guerrea, Samuele Porro, Andres Sevold. We've seen riding better than he's did in the last round. '24th this morning, that man in the Dutch champions jersey, when he started off, had 156 points. He will catapult himself well into the top 10, possibly into the top 5 if he were to take victory here today. But the thing that's best, well, the person who's done best so far out of this today has been David Valero. He's taken his form from Andorra and he's brought it over to here in the Dolomites. He's going to finish on the podium. He may well win and extend his lead at the top of the World Cup standings. It'll be interesting to see what happens to our riders who've done a little bit better than they would expect them. Rosa van Doorn, for example, we've got 2 more races: the Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon and La Trauman Sea Otter Europe. Obviously the mountain bike marathon in Kirchgarten in Germany, the Sea Otter Europe in Girona on the Costa Brava in Spain, home of countless professional bike riders. It's one of the meccas. I mean, in the 1990s it was in northern Italy, and as you moved into the 2000s, most professional bike riders seemed to congregate around Girona. There's a little community there. This is the Italian parachute regiment. That's fantastic. They really put on a show here. They absolutely do. They love it. This being broadcast all over the world. All 5 continents are taking this on the official UCI YouTube channel. 2 stations in North America: Chile and Peru, South Africa, Uganda, Rwanda, Hong Kong, South Korea, Oceania. They're all enjoying the spectacle of what is the toughest race in the world. And they're enjoying it. We've got good uniforms, haven't they? And plenty of medals. I don't know what the medals are for, but they've always got plenty of them. This is the actually not if you look at it, it's not actually the parachute, it's the Carabinieri, isn't it? They've got their own parachute. Well, they are a military police force, of course. Interestingly, unlike if you're watching the UK or maybe in the United States, the Carabinieri, a bit like the Gendarmerie in France, are military police forces. They're not civilian police forces, not civil police forces. You have civil police forces as well, but they run in tandem. Look at how hard that is, parachuting with a big flag behind you. It's bound to catch the wind, isn't it? Must make steering quite difficult. Brilliant. You wouldn't want to drop it, would you? 150 square meters, those flags are. And there we go. You've got to clear the entire area to get there. It's the parachuting sport arm of the Carabinieri. I suppose they've gone through all their basic training and they've specialized in parachutes. Well, this is interesting because that is Leonardo Paes on the right-hand side, and this is Tim Smenga on the left-hand side. And the question is, has he shot his bolt? Because suddenly he looks like he's gone boom to me. Head's wobbling a little bit. Paes has piled past him on what is a steep climb. And the Dutchman, from riding so well, looks like he might be in a little bit of trouble. David Valero has gone up the road, or up the track. 15 seconds the gap now over Paes. Smenga's going to have to really dig in to try and keep on this wheel for Paes because he's inching back up. But Valero has put the hammer down at the front and the Dutchman has just dropped away. Couldn't stay with him. This is good for Leonardo Paes because he's seen the move. He's noticed that they weren't that far behind, so they will have them in visuals. Valero, you can see, just to the left of center of screen, there's a motorcycle following him, and Paes is going to try and hunt him down. Diego Rosa still there. 25 seconds, and these four are going to battle it right the way to the finish. I think it's going to be too tough for Rosa to do, and the race looks to me like it's going to come down to Valero and Paes. The question is, has Tim Smenga just really left it all on the road, or has he just had a tiny blip where he really just needs to sort of gather himself together and try and hang on to the rear wheel of Leonardo Paes, because Paes is going to chase. There's no doubt about that. Great riding from Valero. 20 seconds now seems to be the gap between Paes and Smenga. And Rosa back at 34 seconds. To go over the Zallinger, we're now heading in towards the finish. Oh, Valero just lets the rear wheel kick out just a little bit. This is going to come down to bravery. Absolutely going to come down to bravery. Now, Valero, excellent all-round rider. We know how good Paes is at descending. He's really ridden beautifully over the last sections of this race in previous years, and we'll just have to see whether he has the ability to just go that little bit faster, push that a little bit wider. Those tires to try and dig in a bit harder on corners. Valero will know he's got absolutely nowhere to hide. He really has to push as hard as he can. He's in the highest gear he can get. He's just going to pedal. Oh, taking the widest line he possibly can through an area which is quite slippery. Looks comfortable at the moment, I have to say. We've said it so many times in mountain bike racing, especially on these marathon courses, but riders have such different styles that sometimes riders could look like they're riding very fast indeed downhill. And actually, it's just the way they look, because their body moves around, their arms and legs are sort of pumping up and down, able to sort of take in the shock absorption. Sometimes one looks fast, another one looks slow, and that might not be the case at all. Well, well done to Tim Smenger. He's managed to hang in there. Doesn't look to me as though these two are going fast enough. Valero pedaling hard at this point. And this is what will happen. If you don't get on the gas and start to try and pedal downhill, then it'll be more and more difficult to close that gap. Got to keep the speed up. Obviously, if it gets too fast, you're not going to be able to keep that up. Oh, knee out, just trying to correct the balance. Reyes is definitely pushing. 30 seconds is the gap. Diego Rosa, fantastic ride by him today. Started way, way down the field. Just got to hold it together. But he'll also know that there's only 10 seconds separating him from riders in front. He won't know exactly where they are, but he will know that they're not that far ahead. And he's got a chance of a podium here. This is going to be an absolutely cracking finish. We had a brilliant one with Anna Reinbeer, just inching up on Paula Greca Kurman, just missing out on a third spot. Now you've got a battle here where the top four riders are only separated by 40 seconds. There's 9 kilometers to go to the finish. A lot of it quite technical through either descending or single track. You need to get into the single track off the tarmac in first spot. Whoa, whoa! Lovely bit of two-wheel drift. And the Dutchman finding his rhythm in these longer, wider sections, and Paes, he's the one now having to do the chasing. Well, I think he's gathered himself together, Tim Smenger, and decided that, yep, I've still got it there. Often just needs to take that little bit of a breather. It's a very, very difficult game to play. You've got to have the breather because you'll just blow up completely. But you can't see too much time. But when the going gets very technical downhill, I would suggest it's the faster rider, but on this here, the Dutchman is pushing absolutely flat out. Last time check would suggest he's not taking anything out of David Valero at the moment. Both of these riders will now be thinking, well, I've got the chance of second on the podium here. We want second, but also they still will be thinking there's an outside chance of cutting that 30 seconds down in 8 kilometers to our lead rider. And anything can happen in these races. You just need to overstep the mark very, very slightly, get off line, clip something in the road, and you'll be gone. Paes doesn't look very happy here. I thought he looked the stronger rider earlier. He doesn't look as though he's comfortable. takes the rear of that bike round. I mean, he's such a magnificent competitor, but the Dutchman is definitely pulled away. 35 seconds now, the gap between Serrano on your left-hand side and these two riders here. Baez out the saddle. Has he got a mechanical? He has got a mechanical. Well, maybe that was it. Oh, and Rosa is going to go past him. Paez has lost third spot. And Diego Rosa will not be able to believe his luck. In the last 8 kilometers, he's gone past the 8-time winner of this race. While Paez is a fierce competitor, he will not want to be off the podium. Something going on here. Looking down, pretty unclear actually to what exactly is going on here. Looking at the tyre, he's not. That's difficult to tell what that is. But something definitely amiss. And Diego Rosa has now just 10 seconds to make up on this man here. Can he do it? 20 seconds now, the gap between Serrano and Smega, and the Dutchman is absolutely flying. This is going to be a super close finish again. He's using all the advantages he has in being able to ride on this sort of flattish, fast surface. 20 seconds now, the gap between the World Cup leader, David Valero, and the Dutch champion. And these are the closest finishes, or some of the closest podium finishes we've seen in this race for a long, long time. Just 30 seconds between the top 3 riders, 6 kilometers to go. Paez has lost 20 seconds, he's off the podium now. And I very much doubt there's a way back from there. 50 seconds down on Serrano, 20 seconds down on Rosa. Smega, who started 156 points this morning, 24th overall. And Diego Rosa starting 62nd in the World Cup standings with just 54 points. This is going to be a real cliffhanger of a finish. Valero is a very canny, wily rider. He's in top form. He won in the last round in Natureland Andorra. And here he is. There's a 20-second gap, but actually, again, to me, he looks a little bit like he's getting tired. He knows he can't afford to slow down in any way whatsoever. He knows there'll be riders behind him. He's ridden nearly the entire race with 4 men. He's looking over his shoulder and he's worried. And I don't blame him being worried, because this man is absolutely flying. Look at him. Big, strong rider. He too is looking over his shoulder because he knows Rosa's back there. He must be able to see them soon. Where is Rosa? Well, you can Smega just can't quite see around the corner. Oh my word! Come on, Diego. That's fantastic. He's so close. And he knows this will be the best performance of the year for him. And he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and the Dutchman is just tantalizingly out of reach. Oh, this is going to be so close. And the motorbike having to go around the outside of people who just stopped in the middle, out walking their dog going, what the hell is going on? Smega looking over his shoulder. on who's up ahead, which is David Velaro. Velaro can only hope that these two will be looking at each other so much that he might be able to gain a bit more ground. But the fact is, they're fighting each other. They're going to be riding as hard as they can. And by definition, they're going to be eating up a little bit all the time on Serrano, unless Serrano has pulled something extra out the bag and he was just holding himself, keeping his powder dry. Here he is in this technical single track. Cannot afford to lose it now. Paez back at 55 seconds now, and Rosa is definitely catching him. He's not going to let it go. He wants to get in to the single track before the Dutchman. What an incredible comeback ride from Rosa. He bobbed off the back. He lost nearly a minute at one point. And these two riders, who you might not have expected to be up here on podium positions, are now really fighting. Well, that's not going to play into the hands of Rosa very much. He won't like that. The camera bike has gone behind Sminga, and that is going to, that's going to cause a problem in this. Paez at 55 seconds. 25 seconds now back the gap. So Serrano, Valero does seem to have seen the danger. I tell you what, if I was Diego Rosa, I would not be happy that that motorbike had taken up that position. I would have much preferred him to slip in behind me because I'm chasing the man in front. I've now got to get past two things. The motorbike will just have to get out of the way if he realizes that there's a real chance that Diego Rosa is going to catch that Dutchman. Meanwhile, we're back with the leader, the red jersey of the current champion, and Diego Rosa has got past the bike and past Smenga. This is incredible. You hardly ever see this in this race. This is an absolutely bare-knuckle brawl for second and third. Brilliant riding by the Italian and by the Dutchman, I have to say. Can only hope now, Tim Smenga, that he can just hold on to that wheel. And the pace will now be dictated by Diego Rosa there, because Rosa has taken that second spot on the road. And you have to flip it around in your head. If you are Tim Smenga, you've got to flip it around your head and go, right, I've lost that second spot, I've been caught. I just now have to stick behind Rosa, because Rosa's going to have to make the pace. Rosa's going to have to decide what he wants to do. Does he want to chase down David Serrano? Does he just want to stay ahead of Paez? Does he just want to stay ahead of me? Whenever you're in this sort of situation, you're always looking to turn a disadvantage into a mental advantage. Because if you don't, that's the end of your race. You're shelled out the back, your head goes to pieces, you're not in the right place, and you can't do it anymore. Smenga's going to attack again. He's going to go around the outside, is he? Wants to push the pace on a little bit. He knows now this is going to be a fight to the finish with Rosa, but they still have to work. They've lost more time on David Velaro. "40 seconds. Good riding by the current World Cup leader. 3 kilometers to go. 40 seconds is a big ask in 3 kilometers. But the question is, is anybody going to crack from these two? They need to stay away. They need to push, because they need to stay away from Leonardo Paez. And Diego Rosa pulls out 3-4 bike lengths just on this little bit of descent. He's going to have trouble losing Smenga at this point. Back with our leader, Velaro has 40 seconds advantage. One in Nurcheland, Andorra. Last round of the World Cup. And remember, we've got Black Forest Ultrabike Marathon on the 26th of July, and then a big gap actually to the 20th of September, Sea Otter Europe. So he wants to go into this little break between now and the 26th of July with a commanding lead, which he will do. 40 seconds the gap over the two chasing riders, and Valero's found that extra speed. He wants to secure victory here. He doesn't want to leave anything to chance. Another great race by this man. Timed his attacks perfectly. Up with the Durand. Just pulling out 26. He's been aided, I have to say, by some riders. Smenga has ridden so hard and has been instrumental in some of the breaks that cracked up this group. Oh! Push, 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 push. Diego Rosa is trying his absolute hardest, a little bit more technical here. But I'm surprised he's managed to pull out. He's looking over his shoulder. He's got, what, 20 bike lengths, 25 bike lengths over Smenga. This is an absolute pitch battle for this second and third spot, and he's not going to give it up, the Dutchman. They're in the final kilometre. Running down towards the finish, David Valero. 40 seconds of a gap. He's safe now for his win, as long as a disaster doesn't strike, but he's looks safe here. Looks composed. Running down into Selva Val Gardena, onto the tarmac, back onto single track, towards that left-hand hairpin. Beautifully smooth. What an absolute corker of a battle for second and third, though. There is Rosa on the left-hand side of your screen. And what a ride. That is a brilliant ride by the Italian. And the Dutchman, I think, is just going to have to settle. Is he? He's not going to settle for third. Oh, my word! I don't believe it! I do not believe it. Oh no, I thought that was, for a minute, I thought that was Rosa. It wasn't. There's our winner, Valero. Valero is coming home to take victory. 2 in a row for David Valero. Here's the question, Who's going to come home second and third? Brilliant win for the Spaniard. Very tactical game. But there's only a handful of seconds back to our second and third place men. I actually thought for a minute, a little break up in picture, that the Dutchman, Tim Smenga, had overtaken Rosa, but I think it was just somebody from the women's race, actually. Still out there. There is Rosa. There's Smenga. It is going to be second and third. The Italian taking second spot. That is such a great race for him. Well done, Diego. Brilliant. And Smenga coming home in third spot. That was a cracking finish. That is the closest finish we've seen in a long, long time. There's Leonardo Paez. Just off the podium for Paez. He knows that was a really close race today. 8 times a winner here, twice a world champion. Congratulates David Valero. Now, first 4 men separated by around a minute. The Lee Coogan rider, double world champion Leonardo Paez. You have to keep wondering, how long can he sustain this? I think he's 37 now. How long can he sustain this sort of level of competition? He's just an amazing athlete all round. Ride of the day, one of the rides of the day, I have to say, he just pips Smenga, isn't he? But magnificent ride. Great win then for David Valero. 2 in a row for the Spaniard, and he goes into this short break before the next round of Black Forest Ultrabike Marathon, firmly at the top of the World Cup standings. Well, to get in the top 3 in this race is a massive, massive achievement. He looks slightly, slightly bemused or taken aback that he's actually done so well. And the fact that I think he was just gesturing that it was to and fro, to and fro. Hey! Congratulations for Valero. Well, he has to sort of maintain his lead, but Wout Alleman is the big loser today. And Alleman will still come in the top 10 and therefore get a decent number of points, but no podium for Wout Alleman today. This is Chichi. He rode with the top 4 for quite a while, got to within 15 seconds, but then at the end of the day just was distanced. There comes a time, isn't it, when you have to think, right, I'm going to ride for myself. So Dario Cecchi keeping a good number of points in the bag. Started 10th, Cecchi, so it's good for him. Lee Coogan had a good day today as a team. He's quite a sort of sanguine rider, sanguine athlete, should I say. It's Leonardo Paes. He knows it's not going to always be his day. This is Wout Alleman. And you can see what I mean about points. Points mean prizes, you know. He's going to finish 6th, and he's going to finish a fair way down from the podium times. 4 minutes and 42 seconds down. The fact that he's finished 6th means the points are up there, which is good. It really is the most spectacular venue for a bike race, especially a mountain bike race, and the TV coverage has been superb this year, by far the best we've seen in the long and illustrious history of covering this race. And that is looking down on the run into the finish line there. And the waters from the top of the Dolomites flow down through that little culvert, as you can see, running underneath the bridge where the red carpet is. And that's the square or semicircle. Now the European champion, again, consistent, but not right up there. Andres Seval, the former winner here in the Hero Dolomites. Been a hot and dusty day, as you can see. The white jersey of the European champion, a bit more sort of greyish. That's a good ride by Thomas Piazza. Andres Seval always looks a bit sort of stony-faced sometimes. He never quite looks the same, as though he's happy. That's a great ride by Serrano, as you can see. He was yo-yoing off the front. A number of riders with him, Diego Rosa, Smenga, and Paes, certainly for the first half of the race, and then Paes just losing out in the second half, as did Dario Cecchi and Wout Alleman. So you can see the pattern of the race. Riders at the start, in the first half, first half, and then the second half, just the 3 riders pushing away. Ruga finishing, and Samuele Porro. Ruga from the women's race, and Samuele Porro finishing just in the top 10, which is good. He was 5th overall, so he needed to keep the points going. 8th spot for Porro. Sambarisi. Good ride by him. Riders at the top 10. We haven't seen Dorigoni. Dorigoni had a very, very good race in Elba and amassed his 250 points for a win in Elba, but hasn't been around today at all. We saw him off the pace very early on. So good rides for Porro. He keeps himself up there. Started 5th in the championship, in the Cup. Took an 8th place today, but huge win for Serrano. But Diego Rosa and Tim Smenga, what a finish. Managed to grab David Valero, sorry.
David Valero, felicitaciones por esta victoria ganada, una carrera muy emocionante, con todos los competidores.
Muchas gracias. Sí, una carrera referente a nivel mundial. Dolomites es una carrera con mucha trayectoria, un maratón súper importante y el ambiente que hay es increíble para aquí en Italia y para mí es un orgullo poder ganar aquí en Dolomites.
It was a very tough race here in the Dolomites, a wonderful landscape, and I am very honored to win this hero here in the Dolomites. Los competidores más fuertes hoy, entre Páez, Diego Rosa.
Más fuerte Páez, lo vi muy bien. Diego Rosa, una carrera muy inteligente. Otros chicos de KTM también. Y la verdad que había estábamos 6 corredores muy igual de forma, pero la distancia de la carrera ha puesto a cada uno en su sitio.
Allora, una gara, it was a very great battle today with 6 racers very strong at the same level, but at the end, as longer the race got, as easier it became for me. When did the race decide? At the last pass, l'ultimo paso fue la decisión.
El último paso no, el siguiente, que era de 3 kilómetros, fue donde me puse un ritmo más fuerte y me fui solo hasta meta, a falta de 15 kilómetros.
Not the last pass, but another ascent brought the decision to win this race. He's still the leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I see from David Valero. It's interesting, and he said it, not just the last climb, because that's where most people put their final attack in, if they've got the legs in the Giron, but also the descent. The descent was very important to him, and quite rightly we were saying that is, you really have to be able to keep it together on the descent. You can't afford to make any mistakes. You've got to be flat out, and he was putting it in the biggest gear he could and going for it. Casey South, the Swiss rider, finishing. Swiss champion.
Bronze medal, Paula Gorizo-Gurman. The prize is presented by the president of the Italian Cyclist Federation, Mr. Cordiano Dagnoni. Congratulazioni.
Well, nice to see Greta Kerman in such good overall form. Consistency, the absolute key. We'll see how she fares in the last 2 races of the season, if she's switching her attention to short course. Nice to see Rosa van Dorn back on the podium. winner of the World Cup last year. And as she said, completely unexpected today. She enjoyed that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, la vincitrice, attenzione, winning the Hero UCI Marathon World Cup Hero Dolomites 2026, representing Italy, per l'Italia, Claudio Peretti.
Well done to Peretti, a class rider, Italian champion.
Prize is presented by the president of the Council Provinciale di Provincia di Bolzano, Angelo Gennacaro.
Really took the bull by the horns today, that's for sure. Decided she was in good shape on the first climb of the day to Dante Chipies, and then just carried on riding. That's the way to do it. If you think you've got the legs, go for it. It's one of those sorts of races.
Ok, ladies and gentlemen, un altro momento solenne adesso. And now, in honor to the winner, we are playing the national anthem of Italy.
They've just pulled away from the national anthem, which is a great national anthem. I love the Italian national anthem. Well, congratulations to Claudia Peretti and to our other podium women. Rosa van Doorn of the Netherlands on the left-hand side of your shot there, and Paula Greka-Gurman of Poland on the right-hand side. What a terrific race. Anna Meinbeer will keep the World Cup standings lead, and she almost pulled off a big surprise in getting a third spot on the podium. Claudia Peretti obviously working out whether it's a decent vintage or not. Terrific race. It always is. Super, super good.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, allora è il momento della consegna del premio ambito per quanto riguarda la vincitrice. Verrà consegnato l'orologio Norcane.
Oh, it's going to take all the particular shots. Well, Gerhard Vanzi and his team at Hero have done a fantastic job in pulling together this six-round World Cup series. It takes a lot of negotiation to make sure that they get the series together, the coverage together. And it's an expensive and time-consuming business. They've done a lot of work on it.
Allora adesso un momento foto.
And the sponsors, the watch sponsor, one of the big sponsors, Neurain, handing over their watches to our 3 podium riders. All of them looking particularly happy. Everybody wants to win this race. It's the race to win in mountain bike marathon. And the question is, are we looking at a shake-up here and a turning of the tables, perhaps? Has Anna Weinbeer, she should have done enough to be able to hold that lead going into the end of the season. Weinbeer finishing 4th today, just a handful of seconds. Look, 3 seconds back on Greco Kerman. Rosa van Dorn, the winner of the World Cup last year, in 2nd spot, Peretti 1st. Nemkovic, very consistent. Amanda Bolen, good, just slipping a little bit. Great ride by Deborah Piano. Morath, good ride by Adelheid Morath. And Mary Gray, the New Zealander, in good form. We saw her on the 2nd row as they were lining up at the beginning, and nice to see her finishing up in the top 20 as well. We saw Selina Rueg finishing just now, actually. Rueg, Swiss rider, 53 minutes 32 seconds down. And Caroline Zinn of Germany, the last rider on the board there, 24th spot, 1 hour down. Well, for some, it's been a fantastic day in the office. For others, it's not quite so good. But it has been, in my memory, the closest race for both men and women. And that really does go to show that the race, as part of a World Cup, has really brought people together to compete at the very highest level. They've always wanted to win here. But in many ways, the odds, the stakes are that much higher now. You're running for an entire World Cup.
Let's welcome on the stage the 3rd place, Team Svengen. Welcome on the stage as well, the 2nd place from Italy, Diego Rosa. And
I think we're going to go to the presentation of the men's awards for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And this has been such a cracking race. I mean, it was so close. That man there, Diego Rosa, what a brilliant comeback. And you've got to hand it to these two, actually. Tim Smenger of the Netherlands and Diego Rosa. Smenger 24th this morning, 62nd Diego Rosa this morning. Brilliant result. Well, everybody's super happy. It is a race and a series that really, a bit like gravel biking, everybody has a really good time.
Premia Generale di Brigata Stefano Paolucci, il comandante della Legione Carabinieri Trentino Alto Adige. In the 2nd place, representing Italy, Diego
I like the mountain goats. I have one of those sitting on the mantelpiece at home, alongside the coup from the World Championships in Glasgow. 2 of them just sit there. Magnificent ride by Diego Rosa.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the 1st place and the winner of the 4th stage of Hero UCI Marathon World Cup, representing Spain, David Valero Serrano.
Great ride by Valero. Magnificent. He can put his Spanish champions jersey on at this point, and he'll have to put the leaders jersey on in just a second. Anna Weinbeer will keep the red leaders jersey for the overall standings in the women's.
As well by Patrizia Aste, CEO of Norcane Italia, with the Norcane UCI Hero watch.
Well, you're going to watch. David Valero's got 2 now.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the national anthem of Spain.
Well, congratulations once again to David Valero. Takes back-to-back wins in Andorra and here in the Dolomites, and a brilliant ride by the other 2. Not only was it hammer and tongs all the way for at least 4 riders, but they provided such a spectacle.
Hero Marathon World Cup here on the full stage. Congratulations to the winners, Team Svenga in the 3rd place.
Terrific racing. We move to Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon in Kirchgarten in Germany on the 26th of July, and then the final round of the Hero Marathon World Cup is at Le Troman Sea Otter Europe in Girona on the Costa Brava in Spain. This man will want to get there in the leader's jersey. But the fortunes of the other 2 riders completely changed today. The 2 big winners in terms of points. Diego Rosa, who will catapult himself into the top 20. And Tim Smenga, who's 24th this morning, will go into the top 10, the Dutch champion. And suddenly, it seems like a completely different prospect, doesn't it? Suddenly, you've gone from being one of the riders in the midfield to somewhere up at the top 10, and looking at a potential tilt at a top 3 in the Marathon World Cup. Well, the weather stayed good for them. You can see there had been a little bit of rain. There was standing water on the sides of some of the tracks, which could have caused a problem, didn't. It's all very good, but for another year, superb weather for the actual race day. Back at the start of the women's, look, you could see that Anna Weinbeer was right up there into the first climb of the day, but Claudia Peretti, thinking she had the legs on that first climb, and away she went. The men's race, again, people pushing hard on the first climb of Dante Chipies. Nemkovic, this is a shot from Nemkovic, we hadn't seen her much. Anna Weinbeer not looking super comfortable on the first climb. Swiss rider Casey South, there is Tim Smenga, Shoda Peretti. And those are the 4 men who animated the race in the men's elite for a long, long time. And what a comeback by Rosa. Super win by Peretti. And once again, it's been a pleasure to commentate on this particular race. So, David Serrano goes into the overall standings in the lead again. Anna Weinbeer hangs on to her leader's jersey for another round. Quite comfortably, actually, having finished 4th, and only just 4th at that.
Guarda Tania, bel momento selfie con Harald Vistaler che poi riprende.
Obligatory selfie, that'll be seen on Serrano's site, and also probably the Hero site. bit later on. Well, David Serrano has shown that David Valero has shown he's the man in form. Has to carry that through now for quite a while. Anna Weinbeer started the season unstoppable. But today, beaten off the podium, only just. But does that signal a change? It's very, very difficult to keep up that sort of momentum for an entire season. Well, I think we managed to catch Diego Rosa. This should be good.
Diego Rosa, congratulations for your second place at the Hero. Did it fill your expectations?
I don't know. I was training in altitude before this race, so I went here ready to ride, and then we will see during the race. For sure, this year the race was a bit different than normal. We was a big group at the front. It was nice, challenging until the end.
When did you believe to get the podium today?
I think in the last 500 meters, not before, because we was really close one by one, and something can happen in every corner and mountain bike. So need to take the good time to move and arrive in front of the other guys.
It was a big fight today.
Yeah, it was a big fight, more for the head than for the legs, because I think the first 5 guys we have almost all the same legs in the climb. So need to be smart on the downhill, on the flat, and when and where they can move.
No chance to chase David Valero?
He went so fast today, so I was trying to drop him in the last long climb, but he was in front of me at the end, so no chance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, for sure, training at altitude helps. This is where Leonardo Paez has always done so very, very well, because, of course, he's from Colombia and goes back there regularly to do training. And riding in altitude, of course, means that you can deal with that thin air a lot better, and it is pretty high, this race. 12th place for Casey South, that's great. Really good to see that. As I say, Dorigoni, the man who's really missed out today. I think we managed to get Tim Smenger as well. Well done. Let's have a listen to Smenger.
Tim Smeger from Holland, a podium today, not at your first participation. Are you happy?
Yes, I'm very happy. I was aiming for a top 10 result, but I felt really good and just took the lead today and see what happened. And yeah, I was obviously quite fit and really happy to get on the podium here. At the one moment at the Passo du Run, I attacked and I was away solo, but the rest came back. And then the best was the legs was gone. But we were still with 4 guys, and I was really happy to finish on the podium, and it was a perfect day for me.
Yeah, because it's a tough race, and you took the lead after the first climb already.
Yes. I like the tough races, and I took off in the first climb because I had still something left in my legs, and I like it to take it a bit easier in the downhill. So I expected them to come back, but I had a relaxed downhill, and that was good for me. So yeah, but I like the tough races.
So you managed the race very well, because usually attacking at the first climb is not very healthy.
No, but yeah, it was attacking, but I didn't went over my limit. I was still quite fresh in the first climb, and all the guys around me were breathing hard, and I was still quite relaxed. So that's a really nice feeling. Yeah.
What's your next goal now?
Next week I will ride the 4-day stage race, the Altitude Trophy. That's also important, and I think I will meet someone like Leonardo Paez again there, who is an absolute legend here. Yeah.
So you come next year for the win at this point in time?
Yeah, we will see. It's a different race, 4 days, but for now we celebrate this one, and really happy with this result.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not surprised he's happy. Great riding by Spenga. Next up, Black Forest Ultra Bike Marathon, 26th of July. La Trombe-Sea, also Europe, 20th of September. There's a bit of a gap between now and then. Let's see if they can keep their form going into the next round. I've been David Reeve. Thanks for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage and the brilliant shots of this year's Hero Sud Dolomiti. I'll see you again soon. Have a good day. Ride safely. Enjoy yourselves. Bye for now.